Hi, this is Rich Gurman, founder of the JV Insider Circle, and I welcome you to another edition of JVIC Success Stories. I'm super excited about this interview today. You're about to meet someone who I consider not only a client of ours at JVIC, but absolutely a colleague of mine, someone that I've known for, gosh, how many years have we known each other, Manon? Maybe 5-ish, something like that?
I think that sounds about right.
We've been running in the same circles, including the JV Insider Circle for years and see her at events. And I've never had the chance to interview you before for the public like this. So I'm excited to talk to you. So welcome, Dr. Manon Bolliger. Did I say that? I've known you for years, but you have
It's all good.
Oh, good. Like me, I have a name everybody screws up. So I'm hoping I got that pretty darn close to right. So Dr. Manon, how are you today?
I am good. It's the advantages and disadvantages of living on a little island. There was a power outage, so suddenly I had to go into the city. So hence I missed the beginning of the conference today.
But, oh my God. You know what? As someone who's lived on an island before, the advantages outweigh any tech issues that might, cause a little headache. So yeah. No complaining allowed. So Manon, as we begin, if you could share with everybody just a little bit about your background, mainly like what you do and what is the audience that you serve?
Okay, so I'm the founder of Bowen College. It's spelled B-O-W-E-N. And it's a training institute or training college that helps practitioners and healthcare people learn a methodology to help eliminate pain naturally and super effectively and very fast. So that's what I've been doing. I'm trained as a naturopathic physician. I had a practice for 30 years. And now my focus is really getting this methodology out. And I have sort of two audiences. One is healthcare advocates, practitioners, anyone sort of realizing it's time to take charge of our health, and the public that realizes that it's also time. So I have a podcast, for them as well. I have a book, I have programs available to nurture that transition into realizing that we are responsible for our health, but we also know the answers within.
Nice.
And so that's one piece, and then the other is practitioners.
So as someone who puts a very high priority on health, I love what you do, and I love that you take a natural path towards getting there versus the normal Western medicine approach, which you and I could probably spend hours talking about our feelings on that. So I love what you do, and I love the fact that you were working, correct me if I'm wrong, but you had an in-house practice for many years.
Correct.
And then you made the decision at some point, like, hey, I want to take this beyond my little community and really make a bigger impact by going online and having a global reach. Am I correct?
That is correct. Yeah. So I'm in the process of now licensing to different countries. I have a college in the UK and a demand for it now in South Africa and in two places in Australia.
So let me ask you this, and obviously we spent a lot of focus on these interviews and everything we do in JV Insider Circle, talking about joint venture partners and working with other people to help expand your mission, and we'll get into that. But I want to hear a little bit more about the mission. Like, why do you do this? What is important to you about getting the work that you know has a positive impact on people? It's a two-part question, but I'll just stop after the first one so I don't confuse you. What's your why behind doing this?
Well, I guess it's a vision that there should be a healer in every household. In fact, I believe there's somebody who self-identifies as the person who helps the others in their home or in their community. And I feel that it starts there. All social change comes down to your health in a way, because if we don't look at the health of what we are eating, our environment, yep, and we can't take that, if we don't take that on, we're really puppets in an industry that is financially self-serving, but it can't, it's not sustainable. It won't last. So for me, it's educating, people about their, what they can do. And with the technique, it's really empowering them because you can see and feel the difference. And that's sort of the wow that people go through and go, oh my God, if that's true, then maybe I can rethink a whole bunch of things.
I love it. So it's really about getting this message out to empower people, educate and empower people to make a difference in their household and in their community and expand. So what most people don't know about Manon is she's actually 127 years old. That's a joke. I want to ask how old you actually are, but I would never do that. No. So then that's the why behind what you do. And then my next question is, what's the best way to exponentially get your message out there? You mentioned you have really two audiences, one being the, let's call it the end user that could use your technique and benefit themselves and their home and maybe their community. But then you also have, you work with practitioners. So in my mind, I've always said this from a financial standpoint, one of the best things we can do as, let's say, coaches, healers, is to have a certification program where we can certify other people to spread our message. It's one of the best things we can do financially because people like paying a lot of money for certifications, but it's also a great way to have a huge ripple effect. Is that kind of your focus in terms of working?
Yeah, it was really, like, the thing is that when you're putting forward something that isn't very well known, that you need to do two things. You need to get the public to want it. So you want to create the demand, but you also have to supply. So I found that I had no choice but to do both. And I'm attached to both because I want to deliver. And then I have to find people who are able to deliver the goods. So it became natural to basically be split and do, help people get these services and then train people. So I've trained trainers, and that allows me to have more time now to dare to, be more visible. So I'm like doing a TEDx talk. I have a new book coming out, and I'm open to speaking on, different platforms, ideally radio and, TV, where I don't have to travel too much because, I don't feel like traveling all over the planet. I really, feel like we have the technology to get messages out through Zoom, through, these other ways without having to go everywhere all the time.
If you live on an island, clearly you don't want to be traveling much. You're already there. I get how that works. Tangent question, and then we'll go in. I want to see how you're using JVs and whatnot. I'm just wondering, was there and is there still any kind of ongoing battle with your ego around, certifying other people versus you being the one teaching people? Like this, was there anything mentally you had to go through? Maybe not even an ego thing, but just like, who am I to have this method and teach other people to teach my method? Like, what process did you have to go through?
No, so for me, I'm a collaborative leader. So for me, it's like, you want to learn this? Awesome. Let's do this. So I started that, and then I realized that I could actually charge for this. So I actually just came with the idea that I wanted to spread this desperately, and found people who really wanted to learn it. And then when I could see that it was really reproducible, then it was like, oh, okay, I should have a method to this so that it can spread faster. So it kind of became quite organic. And, and I have questioned things like, should I be, what's the other word? Licensing or not trademarking. What's the other word? It's another form of type of licensing, but it has many more legal obligations that I considered. But I think licensing is the way to go, because you can control the quality, but you're not stuck with all the logistics that come with this magical word that hasn't descended yet.
The second we hang up, it'll come to you.
Of course.
let me ask you this.
Franchising.
There's franchising.
Franchising, thank you.
That's
That was it.
something from another realm for that franchising. So I think there's so many nuggets in what you're sharing here, Manon, and I thank you for them. My question is, you mentioned, so I think this, most people that come into my world are similar to you in that they at some point had a problem, they figured out a solution to that problem, and they were like, oh my God, I want to share that solution with the world so that people can avoid the pain that they went through, or they can get through that pain quicker, but be it health issues or relationship issues or money issues or whatever it is. Like, that's very common. So my question to you is, you mentioned you got to create the demand by working with the end user, and then you kind of segued into finding other practitioners. For someone that maybe is newer to this, what's the path that you would recommend they go on? Is it starting with creating the demand?
Yeah, I mean, I think so, because it's really hard to convince people of something that you're not utterly convinced of, you know. So
Yeah.
it's like when I was starting to get 150 patients a week, it's like, well, okay, this works. Like,
Here,
I
right?
don't need convincing. Now I just need, how do I get this down so I can train, you know? So I think it's the demand, and the demand follows you, right? So it doesn't matter. I was in Nova Scotia, I ended up in Vancouver. It didn't change a thing. And I even opened up in Ontario. You know, people showed up because of the referrals and oh my gosh, you've got to try this method. And so I think the demand is first, but the long period of time was the gap between not getting it sufficiently known. You know, there's at least in Canada, people are used to having their healthcare paid for, you know?
Yeah.
And so that really took a long time before it's even viable. So I had to get accredited. I do all these, you know, so I've done a lot of the behind the scenes aspects. You know, maybe if I was in the States, it would be different.
For sure. Okay, so for a typical person watching, it's create that demand first, which will improve their own confidence. Like, oh, I really have something here.
Yeah.
And then once the demand's there, everything kind of takes a life of its own. And then you really turn it into a very important word. You said you had to really work on the method. So really creating your own methodology, that gives you the value. And that's something that you can then train the trainers, coach the coaches, and people pay you a lot of money for that. So that's a really good process.
And what was really great for me is I had my own students, when I started training them, actually help me create the methodology properly.
Whoa.
Because they said, well, no, but you didn't include this, you actually do this. And it's like, when you do things after a while, it's so innate and intuitive, you don't know everything.
That's brilliant.
So it was great, because I got a little circle of you know, major advocates and it's still happening now as I'm up leveling and sharing even more information. I mean, the angels are showing up and saying, let me help you do this. I know we can get this even better, you know? So
let me turn that into a little sales pitch. So as you know, in JV Insider Circle, Iman, who is my business partner, and he's like the main trainer we have, he teaches people to do what you just said, to basically, instead of putting out a program to the whole world immediately, to do a beta launch of it, get people in your inner circle to go through your training, and they will, as you just gave a perfect real world example of, they're going to help you turn your kind of mess into a very organized methodology, you know, something that you might just do intuitively. And it's step A, and then it goes to step B, and then to C, to D, to E, and there it is. So brilliant. So last question, and we got to do this again when we have more time for sure. But how have you used the power of collaboration? You called yourself a collaborative leader. Share, if you will, how you've used collaboration and joint venturing to build your brand and your business.
Okay. So I think what I've done so far, it's not been tons. I've been using collaboration, building my team and running, you know, my program, but getting it out is fairly new to me, as in focusing on getting it seriously out and getting more people online. So what I've done is mostly, I have a podcast, so I invite, it's called Healers Cafe. I invite other healers so that they can share their methodology. And part of it is then I expose this work, I interview my students. So that's one of the ways I've done it. I've also invited, because I have a fairly large list, I've invited people who have solutions. They're all people that came in for pain, but of course pain is much more complex. So anyone in the health field, I've invited them to join me. And I'm in the process now of reaching out to see where I fit and, you know, and which audiences might be good solutions for me. So I have little yet to share with you about the success on that level. I've been more the support, you know, for others at this stage. But I am going to be creating a summit for other people interested in licensing their programs. And with that, we will have a large group of people in health with licenses or wanting licenses. And that will give us a large group of people that can benefit as well from knowing each other's work. So that's my plan, you know.
Well, that's a good plan. You're a great, not only I think everyone is getting a sense of just your heart and soul in this short interview, but you're also a great student. You are, I've always said to people, if you just do what we tell you to do, it will work. It works for everybody, which leads to my final question. And I want you to answer it as quickly and succinctly as possible. Like we know, like I just said, our system works. If people follow what we say, it will work. Yet we also know that not everybody does it. So you're a good example of someone that you discovered this methodology that helps people feel healthier and heal their pain, and you wanted to get it out into the world. I think you're pretty much a naturally confident person. So maybe you didn't have to get through a ton of hurdles inside your dome there to put it out there. But I know the main reason most people don't do it, okay, you're being honest there, is it's a lack of confidence or I'm not good enough or whatnot. So real quick, as we wind down, what do you say to that person that's been holding back because they're afraid? I mean, at the end of the day, it's fear, right? So they're afraid of putting themselves out there. What do you say to them?
Well, it's interesting. I created a program on that, which was very useful for me.
Go back and listen to it.
No, it's like, you know, my idea is just do it. The next step. Don't think about everything. Just think about the next, you know, the next person, the next human you have a conversation with, and just think, hey, maybe there's something we can do together. And it's just like, make it easy on yourself. Don't create this massive thing. I had this idea, I've got to be on this big stage, and it's like, well, that's not going to happen tomorrow. But, you know, meeting really cool people that I like and sharing information, that's actually how it all begins. So it's just, you know, not think small, think large, but act in small but deliberate, thought through steps, and then be spontaneous in the moment, because I find that life brings you so much more than you can possibly orchestrate.
Wow. So think big, but take baby steps every day. Very good. Well, I was going to add something to that, but that's so good. I'm going to leave it at that. So, Dr. Manon, I thank you so much for your time today. And for everybody watching, if you're like Dr. Manon, if you're a coach, you're a consultant, a doctor, a healer, an author, a speaker, an expert of any kind who, as we're saying, you have a message that you want to get out into the world. And it could be, like you said, through a summit, through a podcast, it could be speaking on stage. It could be by building a large email list like we talked about also. Just imagine that anytime you had something you wanted to promote, that you had a stable of great JV partners that were ready to spread the message about you. That is what we have at JV Insider Circle. We're the #1 community of JV partners in the world who support each other in getting their messages out and getting more clients, making a whole bunch of money, and most importantly, making the impact that we are here to all make. So if you are interested in joining us, please go to joinjvic.com. joinjvic.com. Manon, thank you so much for your time, love, and energy today. And thanks for hopping off the island and setting up shop. And wherever you are, looks like a beautiful spot. I appreciate you very much. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for all the mentorship and what you're doing.
The fun has just begun. You're very welcome. Thank you.